Okay, so in today's video, I'm going to talk about dictionaries in Python, and this is going to be the outline of this video. First, we will see how to define a dictionary, then we will see an example, and then we will find out how to add values, delete values, and look up values in a dictionary, and then I will perform a demo in Google Colab. So first of all, we need to know what is a dictionary. A dictionary is a type of a collection in Python, and just we saw the list. So list has an index, and those indices were used to assess elements at different positions in the list. And there were two types of indices. One was the positive indexing, and the second one was the negative indexing. So there was no control by the user who creates a list defined by Python to give, for example, his own type of indexing or labeling of the elements. So what is provided by the dictionary is this flexibility that it has a key part and it has a value part. So these keys can be given by the user himself or herself, and these are used to assess the values corresponding to each of these keys. So that is what distinguishes a dictionary from a list. So if we want to create a dictionary, we can do this by enclosing key value pairs inside these parentheses, and keys are immutable. What does that mean? That we cannot change the keys once they have been used inside a dictionary. So the values are separated by a colon from the key. So we have this key 1 followed by a colon and then a integer value 1. Then key 2 has a value 2. Key 3 has a list which contains 3 2's. And then key 4 is having a value of a tuple which has 3 elements which are 3, 4, and 5. So as we had a restriction on the keys that these are immutable, which cannot be changed, the values can be immutable, mutable, or duplicates. So when we say immutable, it means types like tuple, which cannot be changed once they have been created. When we say mutable, it means we can provide types like the list, whose value can be changed because of their mutability property. And we can also have duplicate keys, means we can also, for example, have 2 in this place. So we can have duplicate values against different keys. But it is not allowed to have duplicate keys because that is going to create conflict when we try to assess the value corresponding to a key. So here we have an example. So for example, these are different test players who have represented Pakistan in test cricket, and I have used their names as the key part of this dictionary, and their year of debut is used as a value part. So Abdul Hafiz Kardar is the key, and 1946 is year of debut is the value in this dictionary. Like Sarfraz Nawaz, 1969, Imran Khan, 1971, Javed Miandar, 1975, and Misbahul Haq, 2001. So dictionaries can be assigned to a variable. For example, the above can be declared in Python like this. We define a variable dict and assign these key value pairs within these curly braces to this dict variable, following the notation we studied in the previous slide, that it contains names, colon, and the value. The name is the key, and the value after the colon is the value associated with this key. So these bunch of key value pairs will define this dictionary. So keys can be used to look up these values by putting them inside square brackets. Just we had, like as we had in the case of list, that if we wanted to assess the value at a specific index, we made use of that index inside a pair of square brackets. Now if I want to see what is stored against the key Sarfraz Nawaz, I just need to make use of the variable name which we get to list, provide the key, and this colon notation is just telling me what sort of output I will receive when I provide this key to find out what is stored against it. So if, for example, I want to add a value to the list, again I can make use of the square bracket notation. So I will just pass Saeed Anwar, as a key, making use of the dict variable, which is referring to a dictionary, and I assign it 1989. So now the updated list will look like this. We have a new entry of key values, which takes the key Saeed Anwar, and the value stored is against it is 1989. Likewise, you can delete a value from the dictionary by making use of the square bracket notation by referring to the dictionary variable. And for example, if you want to delete the entry against Sarfraz Nawaz, so I can make use of the del command, and after execution of this command, this key value pair will be deleted from the dictionary we just created. So in this dictionary, you cannot see the value Sarfraz Nawaz. So the in command can be used to look up a specific element inside a dictionary, whether it exists in the dictionary or not. For example, if we search or look up Saeed Anwar in Dict, Dict is the variable referring to the dictionary. See, it is there, so the answer will be true. So it returns a boolean. So if, for example, we search Shoaib Akhtar in the dictionary, which is not there, so it will return me a false. So other two useful commands are the Dict.keys and the Dict.values. If we invoke the command Dict.keys, it will return all the keys which are there. In this case, these bunch of values will be returned in the form of a list by the Python interpreter. And likewise, if I invoke the command Dict.values, then in that case, these values which are corresponding to each of these keys will be returned in the form of a list by the Python interpreter. So now we can switch to the Google Colab demo. So let's move on to the demo. So let's say we want to create a dictionary and we want to store it in variable dict. So I will be working on the same example. The first player whose information we stored in our dictionary was Abdul Hafiz Kardar, and his year of debut was 1945. Then the next one was Sarfraz Nawaz, and his value or the year of debut which we stored was 1969. Then was Imran Khan, and his year of debut was 1971. And then was Javed Miandad, for example, and let's say debut in 1974. And then was okay, we can make entries later on, add entries later on. So let's try to find out what we have right now in the dictionary. I will just press Control Enter and let this processing finish. And here you see here all the entries we just input inside the dictionary: Abdul Hafiz Kardar, Sarfraz Nawaz, Imran Khan, and Javed Miandad. Now, if I want to retrieve a value from the dictionary, I just need to make use of this variable. For example, let's say we want to see what is stored against Abdul Hafiz Kardar. I run this, I see the result is 1945. Now, if I want to add some value inside the dictionary, what I can do is I just pass the key, let's say Saeed Anwar, and for example, let's say his year of debut is 1989, and let's say we check the dictionary again. So now we would see that entry, this Saeed Anwar entry is added in the dictionary. So there you see it is present. Likewise, if you want to delete some list, for example, or delete a value, for example, let's say instead of change this to Sarfraz Nawaz, so I will not need this year 89 anymore. So after this, I am supposed to have Sarfraz Nawaz deleted from my dictionary. So okay, there is a spelling mistake. Let's correct that. And now, so now you see the value has been deleted. So if we want to look up a value in the dictionary, we can try this. For example, Imran Khan in Dict. Just see, and we see this answer true. And if I, for example, change the key, for example, we don't have Misbahul Haq here. and in this case we expect to see a false, and it is false. So that was all for today's video.